As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
Beast Mode says there's also that one person in the group that never wants to take that step into new game. So I never want to buy a game unless my whole group wants
That's so
to.
true, though. That's really, really true. We talked about that earlier, Paul, right? About MMOs in general, right? If you have that one person that's an FPS guy, I wanted to play Rogue Squadrons, that Star Wars one that came out last year with a jet fighter. I was the only one in my group that wanted to play it. So like naturally, I have it sitting in my library with last login time, from a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting problem. I wonder, not a lot of people have addressed that, like the ability to group buy or things like that, like where there's maybe some way to encourage groups to go in together, like you actually get more benefits in game. It's like this
is literally a guild. You just invented guilds. Like, isn't that kind of the whole pitch on guilds?
Well, guilds have if we're talking about the play to earn guilds, you mean? I mean, that's because play to earn introduces some kind of barrier, right?
Yeah. It creates a problem and then the guild solves them.
Solves it,
but by being in the guild, you get sort of access to what games are going to be popular early, and you sort of get early. You're adopting it early by definition. You get the goods and then they go up in value. And then you make money like Jimmy does, speculating on these things.
What I think what the interesting thought is, why don't more game developers encourage multiple people, like groups, to join and then provide them some in-game reward should they,
like as a group?
How do you peer pressure other, how do you create peer pressure within your group for them to download a game or try a game?
That's pretty good, actually, because Fortnite has these skins, right? And then they did a thing where you can have four, the squad is 4, and you can get this one skin in 4 different color schemes or 4 different variants. And so you want your group to have, I think they're doing a Ninja Turtles collab, so you can each be one of the Ninja Turtles, and they've done it with others. That's along the lines, but not as well thought out as what you just what you just raised, right? Which is
which one's your favorite turtle? Go around.
I go Raphael.
I'm Leonardo.
Oh my God, Raphael's my favorite.
You guys you're all out to lunch. Donatello was the best. We
I
all
knew
know
you
that.
were going to say Donatello.
He has a stick, but okay.
I mean, Leonardo was
the non-lethal weapon.
That's next question.
He was the smart one. Come on.
Leonardo has a massive sword. Come on. Let's be real.
It's a little too sure of himself.
A little bit of an asshole, but whatever.
Feels like it fits. Kevin says, do you think RuneScape would still be around? I mean, RuneScape is still around. I mean,
this was in reference to your whole, are people still going to be playing WoW in 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, no, he said,
well, let me just push it. Will RuneScape still be around 20 years from now?
I don't know. It's been around for 21 already. It's basically pumped up the Venezuelan economy for the last 15.
At some point, you actually run out of hardware able to play these super old games. Emulating super old games actually becomes difficult. Chris says the fact that Reaper, which is a knockoff of John Wick, has more wow factor than the John Wick skin to Fortnite players supports Jimmy's point entirely.
Hey, that's high praise, Chris. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the data and the facts.
I'm tempted to not I hate agreeing with this though, because I don't want to support knockoffs of anything, right? But clearly they knew what they were doing. Matt says, has not okay. Chris says, chat on fire tonight. I agree. I love this. JC says quantity equals experimentation. No question, right? But it's also we could be somewhat critical when the strategy is we just throw everything at the wall and hope something sticks. But
Quantity
it
also
is
equals selling out, though, right?
well,
Not
not
just
why in
like
what way?
once you have that winning formula, you just pump them out as much as you can. You just cash in or cash out.
Well, they're not like it's
I don't
not
even
like
know
they're
what we're
throwing like
debating about
everything at
anymore.
the wall. They're partnering with like a bunch of different luxury brands. Who doesn't want that? And like huge IPs and not like
You're right.
average
That we're not
stuff.
saying the quality is low, right? But when we talk about quantity over quality, it's most definitely experimentation. The question is, or at least my view is, there's nothing wrong with experimentation, right? That's where innovation comes from. This is where it's okay if experimentation is the strategy, as long as you're putting a lot out there and you're willing to fail on some things and you're willing to take risks. Chris says gamers are lemmings. Got it. I mean, to some extent, I mean, it is a very opinionated audience, and you know this, Chris, but I think they're homogeneous in a certain way. Our Sanity says, in regards to esports, the pro competitive scene of games, it sucks to say that all these new games will never build the scene or grow viewership because of the game hopping. That's an interesting point. Interesting thought. Does esports get tougher because the barrier to get and change games gets lower and lower? I'll start with my viewpoint. I'm curious what you guys think. I think esports are fine regardless of game hopping. In the same way, I could play basketball today and go play football tomorrow. I'm still going to watch the sports I want to watch, even if it's sports A, I don't play, and B, I don't necessarily play regularly, right? Like I don't play hockey regularly, but I still watch hockey. And so to me, these things are not as correlated as I think people expect them to be. Lindsay, you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with that because I think that while I haven't heard of many people playing Valorant, the esports and the competitive scene there has been growing since Valorant was launched. So I think that's sort of a prime example. I also don't necessarily think that every game that's played, like I think it's okay to build a game that's mostly for esports and for a competitive scene, and I do think that that's Valorant's goal. I mean, obviously, Riot has other massively successful IP. They don't need all their players to be playing Valorant, but it helps to have a healthy competitive scene, and they've really built that out and invested in that with that game. So
Yeah, I just don't think player base and fan base necessarily they may be correlated, but there's not causation there, right? Like just because you have a huge player base doesn't necessarily mean your esports scene is going to be successful. We saw this with Overwatch. We saw it with Call of Duty to a certain extent. They're not directly tied. Adam says Paul and a Donatello fan is the least shocking thing of 2022.
it's true.
I don't know what this says about me. No, I want to take this as a compliment, Adam, I think. Stuart says, yes, Donatello. Stuart, I'm with you. You and me. Kevin says, what's that?
Splinter. You're Splinter. You're not even a turtle. You're just like the wise rat.
Nah, he's Donatello.
Thank you. Kevin says, Fortnite hit a certain addicting feeling that was unmatched to me since COD Modern Warfare 2. Sometimes when it comes down to it, it just needs to be a great game to be successful. I mean, Kevin, like I said, it's the most overlooked factor in all of these business discussions. Like we end up going down these rabbit holes of trying to analyze every which way, but we forget that the product matters here. Beast Mode says, I think the reason people are so stuck on Fortnite because right when it came out, it was something new, something we've never seen before. True. But we still see, right? Like novelty is maybe an interesting, like what you're saying is novelty, Beast Mode, right? And
right.
That if are we saying this is a potential metric for success to look at, like how novel is the game, and is that a predictor of success? Is an interesting thought.
I don't
Lindsay,
know if that works
sure.
though, because to Jimmy's argument, how you make really successful IP is also nostalgia. There's a lot of different things that can make a game successful. I think Fortnite used its novelty at a time when it was really successful to do so. I don't know that another game, if you introduce completely new gameplay and game style, that it would work in the same way the Battle Royale format did.
But now Fortnite's leveraging other IPs nostalgia, right? Like Star Wars, and I mean, some of these are relatively new titles like Stranger Things, but it's still that memory of something not so long ago, right? I just think they're so clever. I know we don't really care for Epic around here, but you can't knock Fortnite. That's my argument. I'm sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it. Arsanity says, at Kevin, there's going to be those one-hit wonders every now and again. We just have to wait. This is true. I don't mind spending money on Fortnite to look good in game. I mean, the entire free-to-play industry depends on this feeling.
About flexing.
Yeah. Chris says, at Beast Mode, will you buy that skin at 100% markup if it was an NFT? Not a crypto bro, just curious. Beast Mode, I'm curious. Would you buy the skin at 100% markup if it was an NFT? That's an interesting question. And something we explore often on the Meta Business podcast, which you should all subscribe to.
If I want to take that question too, because to Chris, you know, as someone that has tons of skins and has spent so much money on so many games to look good, I would love the ability to rock that skin or to look like that avatar in other games or in other metaverse related environments. I think I would hope that eventually that skin that I do have in Fortnite, I can use somewhere else. So that's my hope for one day. But I see Beast Mode responded to him too.
Yeah, he says, yeah, I would. Depends on the skin. It's interesting because there's a whole other rabbit hole here, guys, of like price elasticity of cosmetics and things like that, right? Like how price sensitive are consumers when it comes to these in-game cosmetics, and if you can create demand. My feeling, at least, and it's obviously related to this question here, is people will pay. People will pay. Like I don't think there's necessarily. I don't think we've seen the high end yet of skin prices. Let's put it that way. Does anyone think we've capped out there?
No, go for it, Jeff. No.
Well, Jimmy, this is more your area of expertise, but I don't see why not. I mean, when you're talking about super high end luxury, like I don't even know what the most expensive skin that's ever been sold, but I imagine we're not even close to scratching the surface, particularly when you start introducing NFTs and crypto, and you just have a lot of people in these ecosystems that have made ungodly amounts of money based on being early, and they see value in these digital items. So like, you know, people are willing to buy $4 million pictures of an ape. Like, you can't tell me they're also not going to be willing to spend $1 million on something cool in a game. Like, it just, yeah.
The thing with these skins is that there's no scarcity. Anyone can buy the skin, right? So I think if you create a false scarcity of there's only 1,000 of people that will have these, then Paul, your argument is clear. And I wonder why games haven't done that yet, where like, I could be one of 10,000 people that have that helmet or that skin. They just haven't done that yet.
Do that. CSGO, right? Like there are limits to, you know, the percentage that a certain skin drops or things like that. So people know there's only X number of these, you know, this particular skin out there of this quality. I want to move on, guys, because we do have stories related to NFTs and crypto, and we have stories related to more gaming IP. So like a lot of tie-ins to this whole conversation. Reputable Hype says it's so hard to gauge games early because it's like projecting a long-term relationship out of one date. What are the indicators of a good first date? Reputable Hype, I love the analogy. It's spot on. But like I said, traditionally, we were able to do that, right? The projections were possible because the distribution of buying sort of, I guess, followed some standardized curve. The struggle and the crux of this whole conversation has been what now? And you're right. It's the indicators of a good first date are not necessarily conclusive. You may have an inkling, but they're not necessarily conclusive. Lindsay, you were going to say something. Sorry.
No, I was just complimenting that analogy. It was perfect. Yeah.
Chris feels like Reputable Hype is the Tinder swindler.
Ooh, Jeff and I have really strong feelings about that guy.
Did you see? Apparently, he's on Cameo now. $200 for a post.
Oh my god. Chris says opening up an NFT thrift shop with Jimmy in 10 years.
5.
The fire sale. I can't wait.